Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our first look at the buffed secondary build key and why I think it's the dumbest goddamn thing I've ever seen. So, and that's not a good thing by the way, just for those wondering. Anyway, we're running Arpeggio Haruna. We've got Franz von Hipper. We've got Henrique Fernandez in there as well, which gives us pretty solid secondaries overall. Gives us all three commanders as our secondaries, which is nice. We've got Floating Fortress. We've got Porcupine. We've got Firefighter. We've got Master Mechanic. And we've got Fight Fire with Fire. As far as our other loadout, we are running Secondary Battery Mod 2. We're running Steering Gears Mod 2. We're running Concealment... Well, I guess I had Target Acquisition Mod on. I don't know why. If I ever got to choose or chase somebody into a smoke screen, maybe that would come in handy. And then, of course, we have the Secondary Battery Mod 3 Epic version to try to showcase the absolute pinnacle that these secondaries are capable of. And I'll be honest, it's pretty pathetic. So let's get into it. We do keep our observation seaplane, and we get an enhanced secondary targeting booster, which is pretty nice. Other than that, the normal stuff is still here. The main thing you want to think about is you got 100mm secondaries and 140mm secondaries. You only get 16 of the 100mm and 8 of the 140mm. Now, to be fair, the 140s do reload relatively quickly for what they are. They reload in 4.8 seconds. However, and the 100 mils, I believe both of these get increased HE penetration, which is nice, which allows them to pin stuff that they wouldn't normally be pinning. But the problem is, you just don't have enough of them. And they're actually pretty weak as well. So if you get hit with any sort of HE from anything at all, that you just lose your secondaries. Building this thing for secondaries is idiotic. Okay? There are very few scenarios where you're going to be able to utilize these secondaries and actually benefit from the secondaries. More often than not, those situations that you get in that specific moment, building into secondaries wouldn't have mattered at all because you're going to be close enough that you're already having your secondaries kick off, if that makes sense. So you're actually doing yourself a disservice by building into secondaries on the ship. I think you need to build into the main guns as normal, and then have the secondaries there that have the extended range that could potentially help you in certain situations. Because again, the only times that these secondaries really do anything at all is in situations where they would have been doing the same thing even if you hadn't built into secondaries. Okay? But the problem is you just don't have a lot of them, right? So let's go ahead and look at the ship, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. You see the four dual turrets right there. That's your 100mm. You see the little tiny freaking casemates? You have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. 4 total. That's it. If they're going to give you a secondary build Japanese battleship at tier 7, I'd rather it be the Amagi. The Amagi has a lot more casemates. Would make a lot more sense for a secondary build. Look. You think I'm lying? Look at the casemates on the Amagi versus the Key. See how they're all full? Every single one of these is a casemate. And every one of them is the 140mm gun, I think. Let me double check, make sure I'm not lying. Yes, the 140mm gun. You get 16 of them. That's 8 per side. That's twice as much firepower of the bigger gun on either side of the ship. So just keep that in mind. I personally think building into the secondaries of the Key is a mistake. I think you should probably stick to just building into the main guns and then having the secondaries kick in when you get into certain scenarios. Because the problem with going all out on secondaries, and this is a big problem nowadays, is that it limits you so much everywhere else. If you're trying to completely go in on secondaries, you lose range on your main guns, you lose accuracy on your main guns, and remember, your main guns should be your main armament. That's why they're called that, right? You should be able to do things with your main guns. Now, the match that I'm going to show you is the best match that I've had because I can't be bothered to play this thing any longer. It's awful. I still hate the Key. They can't buff this turd enough. I would rather be in the Amagi in every scenario. Every single scenario, I would rather be in this ship than the Key. It's just a better ship. It does everything better than the Key. Like, it doesn't have... The only thing it doesn't have over the Key is it doesn't have torpedoes. So, with all of that being said, let's get to the gameplay, guys. You guys know the deal. Let me get my screenshot, and then we'll get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Warrior's Path. Now, before we get started, I just want to apologize to everybody that was on the stream yesterday when I literally just rage quit the game. I'm tired of the stream snipers, y'all. It's done. I'm so over it, man. I've reported the guy. I'm going to be sending clips in with all of the streams and stuff recently. It just takes a long time for me to put all that stuff together to send Wargaming because they can't bother to just check the streams. But anyway, I digress. I just wanted to say that I do apologize that every single time I stream, I deal with the same stupidity over and over again, and then it just gets to a point where I don't want to play the game anymore. And that's just the way it goes. Anyway, so we're in the key. We're in a full secondary build. Again, I don't think a full secondary build is the way to go in this boat, and I will explain why. Mainly because, A, it doesn't have a lot of secondaries to begin with. If you're under any sort of HE duress, you're probably going to lose most of those secondaries very quickly. So shooting or relying on your secondaries as your primary source of damage is kind of silly. Okay? They're secondaries for a reason. Now, there are ships that do have secondaries that are much more useful, but even then you'll notice that in the Massachusetts anymore. Do I play the Massachusetts a lot anymore? Why is that? The game has changed. Okay, a lot of people simply turn and run away in this game nowadays, right? They cannot stand and fight because they don't have any confidence in themselves to do so. So more often than not, you find yourself in a situation where everybody's just running away. It's just the way this game plays out now, which is not very conducive to getting up close and personal with secondary brawler type ships. Now Riga comes around the corner full broadside and I get an absolute god tier roll of RNG. I cannot stress to you how much of a god tier roll this was, as I just absolutely obliterate this guy. Now I want you guys to pay attention to a couple of things in this match. Notice where the Georgia is on the map who just said, nice work. Also, notice where the Plymouth is on my team, who's right next to me. He initially pushed forward, spotted an enemy. I almost dev struck the enemy, and then he turns and runs away. He wants to hide behind me. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't want the Plymouth being the one thing that everybody can see and shoot because he's very squishy. Riga decides that he wants to tempt fate again. I double tap the trigger. Nothing happens. Not all my guns go off, which actually turns out to be a good thing because I ended up missing with the first shot, but I didn't on the second shot. And again, we have very good RNG there. You don't get that kind of RNG all the time. Now, fortunately for me, this is best case scenario. We've got a Massachusetts pushing into me. This is one of the few opportunities where these secondaries, being at a longer range, are going to be beneficial. Now, notice I don't even bother shooting at the Massachusetts right away because the secondaries are already doing their thing. So I go instead allow me to go ahead and shoot my main guns at a Plymouth. Now, we're going to take a little bit of damage here, but I'm not all that scared of the Massachusetts. I wanted to get the guns out on the Plymouth, and we do manage to slap the Plymouth again and give us our fourth Citadel of the game. Again, broadside cruisers for days, but look at the Georgia's location on my team still. Still nowhere to be found. Why is that? Why is he back there? Why is he reversing of all things? He's terrified. He can use the dialogue wheel, but he can't play the game. This is what you can expect on the normal. This is not normal. Having a Massachusetts that just happens to spawn in front of you, also a secondary ship. He wasn't a secondary build Massachusetts, but he was a secondary ship, meaning he has extended range, meaning once I'm inside the range, which I'm already inside the range, he's going to be able to use, his secondaries to do good things, right? All Americans have 20 of those freaking... well, I say all Americans. Some of them only have like 18. But most American battleships have 20 5-inch 38 secondary turrets on the side of the ship. Massachusetts is reversing away. Here's one of my biggest issues with this ship in particular. Yes, they extended your range of your torpedoes, but honestly, they shouldn't have. Well, I say they shouldn't have. They do come in handy occasionally. But in order to torp at longer ranges, you have to telegraph that you're torping them. And any sensible person can tell when you torp them, right? Because you have to open the angle larger than you normally would when you're engaging these guys. Now, we go for superstructure here. And you can see we're doing a good job. And the secondaries have been ripping this Massachusetts apart. Don't get it twisted. These secondaries are very good if they would hit the enemy ship. But they are very good, and they pin most of the time when they hit because of that increased penetration we talked about. Here we're going to see a classic classic scenario where I go to shoot a guy as a drive-by, and the game unlocks the turret right as I go to shoot, and then that forces me to miss the freaking target and irritates the ever-living out of me. So annoying. We missed the kill because of it. But we put up 100,000 damage very quickly. And how much of that was the secondaries and how much was the main guns? The majority of that damage was the main guns. The secondaries are a nice bonus. They should not be your primary on this ship. Now, there are ships out there like the Schlieffen and the other battle cruisers for the Germans where those secondaries are oppressive. Same thing for the Atlantico. Those secondaries are oppressive. These secondaries are not. They're very good. You just don't have a lot of them. And they get knocked out very easily when you're going up against any sort of cruisers that are spamming HE. God forbid you go up against a carrier. You do have some AA in this ship, but carrier's going to do what carrier's going to do, whether you have AA or not. You'll shoot a few planes down, but the carrier's going to have his way with you. Now, as we try to get around the corner, I couldn't turn my ship, so I ended up beaching on the island. But we're going to try to get around the corner, get the guns over to the left side. We're going to try to shoot at the guys over there if we get a chance. But this is a rifle stomp, and this is the other reason why secondary ships just aren't as good as they used to be in most scenarios in World of Warships Legends nowadays. The game simply ends too fast for your secondaries to really ever become all that useful. Don't believe me? I mean, most games end in under 8 minutes, or at least are basically over in under 8 minutes, just leaving the chance to mop everything up after that. But as you can see here, the enemy does delay the inevitable by killing our breast. We take a shot at the broadside of the Kutuzov. Literally couldn't ask for a worse dispersion there, but I think we do land 1 or 2 shells. But the secondaries are going to engage the Dalian, but again, Dalian is spotted. He's broadside in front of everybody on my team. So, inevitably, we get the kill, because again, the secondaries are good, but did they really do anything that they wouldn't have done otherwise? Not really. 106,000 damage, 2,492 base XP, top of the leaderboard. Personally, I think just build into your main guns, enjoy the extended range of your secondaries when you have them, and then enjoy the fact that you have longer range torpedoes that you can use for certain situations. But more often than not, if you're using the torps, it's because you're doing a drive-by, and you don't really need the extended range on those either. Personally, I still find myself, in just about every situation, preferring the Amagi over the Key, regardless of the Key being buffed or not. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.